Gee, it says, okay. So Rahim bhai, now we are recording. And so should we start?
Bismillah.
Bismillah Rahman. Iman, are you all set?
Yes.
Okay. Here you. Bismillah Rahman. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, where we will learn the value expatriates bring to the development of Pakistan. An expatriate or expat is an individual living or working in a country other than his or her country of citizenship, often temporarily and for work reasons. An expatriate can also be an individual who has relinquished citizenship in their home country to become a citizen of another. In May of this year, Bloomberg News came out with an article in regards to expats around the world in general. Taiwan, Mexico, and Costa Rica have been ranked as the top spots to live and work abroad in 2021. Based on their cost of living, ease of settling in, and overall quality of life. Unfortunately, the US was ranked only 34th out of 59 places, largely because of how expats view the quality of life in America. According to the survey, the US, which often doesn't do well in these kinds of surveys, received low scores for quality of life and cost of living. Expats reported a distaste for some elements of the healthcare system. Just 20% were satisfied with its affordability. And 19% say the quality of care is negative. That compares with a global average of 14% who rate their care negatively. Today, we are honored and we are delighted to have His Excellency, the Honorable Ambassador Rahim Hayat Qureshi, who will go into detail as how to expats are playing a vital role. Ambassador Rahim Hayat Qureshi is a career Pakistan Foreign Service officer, currently serving as Pakistan's ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Iran. He joined the Foreign Service in 1992. In his extensive diplomatic career, spanning over 30 years, he held various key positions in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and at important embassies of Pakistan, including Paris, Rome, New Delhi, and Seoul. Ambassador Qureshi has practical experience in dealing with regional politics of South and West Asia, OIC, and European affairs. While serving at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, headquarters in Islamabad, he served in strategically important divisions, handling economic coordination, policy planning, and public diplomacy from 1998 to 2000. He served at Civil Service Academy, Lahore, where he instructed and imparted professional training to young and newly recruited civil servants. Ambassador Qureshi holds a master's degree in international relations and LLM from the University of Warwick, UK. Over to you, Rahim Bhai, and thank you for joining us. And it's an immense pleasure for us to have you with us.
Well, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Nazia, it's great to see you, and I'm so delighted and so proud of the great work that you yourself and your organization, Alliance, is doing so well and so much in the United States. So congratulations and felicitations to you and your entire team and to your organization as well as your members. It's an honor for me to be here, and I'm delighted to be able to answer any questions that you might have, discussion on any topic of import that the expatriates might feel important or might wish to highlight. Hello?
I apologize. Were having some technical difficulties. As so, Rahim bhai, do you want to talk about a little bit about yourself? About your ambassadorship in Iran.
Well, thank you very much. It's like you said, I joined the service in 1992. Most of my career, a lot of my career has been spent in England in France and Italy, where we have considerable community and considerable members of the community who are doing an admirable job in contributing to our economic progress. Apart from that, I've had the pleasure of serving in India, which, as you can well imagine, was a very interesting post and exciting, where I learned a lot. And then, of course, my first ambassadorial was in Korea. Korea and Pakistan, both became independent nearly at the same time. When Koreans started off, in fact, we donated money to Korea at that time. During the Korean War, one of the biggest donations which ever came to Korea was from Pakistan. And even now, in any conversation that we have with Korean officials, they recognize our contribution and our help in making Korea becoming what it is right now. They often refer to our physical material contributions as well as our intellectual contributions. For example, one of the earliest 5-year plans that they adopted was initially Pakistani, in the sense that the model we were following at that time was later on developed, followed, and implemented by Koreans. I can give you a little example that currently Korean exports amount to about $600 billion a year. Their imports are about $500 billion. Exports are about $600 billion. At that time, when they became independent and Pakistan became independent until the 60s, one of the first exports that the Koreans used to make was actually women cut their own hair, made wigs out of them, and started selling them. This is how poor that country was at that time, and how difficult and without technology that they undertook their journey. And now they are at about $600 billion a year. Till the 60s, Pakistanis and Pakistan, our exports and our economy was doing better than Korea, Turkey, Bangladesh, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, all combined. We were exporting more than all these countries combined. And since then, of course, for various reasons that we can develop on and discuss at some other time, unfortunately, Pakistan has lagged behind. But we are a country which, is very resource rich, and we have one of the best human capitals in the world, and which is what we are here to talk about, the human capital, and especially the expatriates. So for us, one of the big strengths that we have in Pakistan is going to be the expatriate community that we have.
Thank you very much. We got a few questions from our members, and I'm going to start with the first question. How can women play an important role in the economic progress of their home countries?
Well, first of all, let's start with some admission of some basic facts. Unless and until we confront the reality as it is, we'll not be able to move forward. What is the reality? Reality is that women are 50% of the population in Pakistan, but comprise only 20% of the workforce. And that workforce is underpaid and does not have the same access to resources that men have. So unless and until we recognize where the problem is, and then of course, the rest of the women, 80% of women are working, but they are unpaid work in the houses, in the fields, in the gardens, with cows, with goats and this and that. So they have not only 20% are in the workforce, and the ones who are not in the workforce are actually working, but it's unpaid labor. So we have to first of all, stare this issue right in the face and see what we can do about this. For this, we need to do a lot of work, and but there are good thing is that there are many things which are already being done, and many things which can be done that we can remove this gender gap. Uh, we would, I mean, I think one of the first things is to help women contribute to the workforce in Pakistan. Maybe on one hand, we need to help women in having access to finance so they can start their businesses. On the other hand, I think a lot of responsibility lies on men. Men have to get out of the way for women to do the progress, to make the progress that they need to do. So there is a lot of onus on men to make sure that they do not stand in the way of women's progress, because eventually it's a self-defeating purpose. It's a self-defeating way. If women do not contribute to the economy, I don't think we'll be able to progress. So in a way, it's like, shooting yourself in the foot if you're stopping women from progress in your own country. What are some of the few things that we can do and everybody can do, from the government to small businesses, is of course education. These things should form part of the curriculum. What is gender equality? How can women contribute? Taking examples from the Prophet's family, from historical, records, all these kind of things. From women in Arabia at the time of Hazrat Khadija, doing her business, and Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam being a partner with her and in helping her to expand her trade and everything. So these are things which we all need to recognize and work upon and maybe contribute in terms of education. Then of course, what is very important is not only access to finance. We have to make sure the workplaces are safe for women. Women face a lot of discrimination. Women face issues. These are things that we cannot afford to have. And then, apart from the workplaces, we have to now make sure that harness the ability of technology to help women make that leap. They don't have to go through that evolutionary process that other countries have gone through. We need to make our women digitally literate. A lot of women are doing that, but we need to do more. So there's a plenty of opportunity for women. I think the science is already there. There is a direct correlation between the amount of women in the workforce and the amount of contribution they make to GDP growth. So these things are evident. So, I mean, all we need to do is, for example, one is to help women wherever we can, and B, for men to get out of the way. I think these are two basic things.
Thank you very much. What skills do you believe are most valuable for expatriates to acquire?
I think it's basically, I think I'd focus on, having served in England, having served in France and other countries. My colleague is here. By the way, I must introduce her. Zeb might want to say hello and might want to contribute also. She's the head of our political section in our embassy over here in Tehran. And she has previously served in Oslo and Vienna. Vienna, as you know, is the center for nuclear issues, and Oslo has a great, a big community. She's well versed in these issues. So before I say anything else, maybe I'd like to her to say a little hello to all your members. Zeb, would you like to introduce yourself for a second before I move on to answering the question? Maybe we can unmute Zeb also.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll continue with the conversation, and then, oh yeah, Zeb is here. So.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for this very generous introduction, Ambassador. He's always inspirational, and I keep telling him that this is one of the few embassies where women are not facing any discrimination, and we're encouraged to come forward and contribute to the best of our abilities. I just want to add one or two points, maybe that might help the conversation going forward. I think there are plenty of studies internationally as well as locally which suggests that excluding women from the workforce and excluding them from mainstream economy is not helping the macroeconomic statistics anymore. I mean, there's growing realization that including women in the workforce is something that is going to benefit the entire nation. It's not just, you know, for empowering women, but it makes a lot of economic sense as well. We have the example of Bangladesh, for example, where microfinance has been, you know, a major success because of women's involvement and their leadership abilities and their ability to sort of become more entrepreneur and take on the lead in you know, generating business opportunities, not just for themselves and women around them, but generally for the society. So this is one, but also there are numerous other examples where women are contributing in a big way. In Pakistan also, and I joke with my colleagues every once in a while. I keep saying that there's so many women in government service nowadays that men are soon going to turn into a minority. But, you know, we have to accept the fact, as the ambassador also said, you know, there's social norms, there are stereotypes that will take time to break. And, you know, every woman that comes into the workforce and joins the workplace is sort of working every day in Pakistan and elsewhere to break those stereotypes. So, you know, we need to be optimistic, but at the same time, you know, men have to realize that women, if they're given equal opportunities, they can contribute massively to social development and economic development of any country. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb. Very kind of you. I mean, Zeb is one of our brightest officers around, and she follows in the footsteps of some of our great women ambassadors and leaders of the Foreign Office. And an interesting thing I can tell you is we rank 3-4 positions very, very highly in the Foreign Office in terms of the importance that they have in our foreign policy. One of them is, for example, our position, our PR in New York, in the UN General Assembly Security Council. Another one is our permanent representative or ambassador, as you call it, to Geneva, to the UN in Geneva. Third is our permanent ambassador or permanent representative or ambassador to Vienna, which deals with nuclear matters. And the last one is our additional foreign secretary or the highest officer dealing with the UN division in Pakistan in the headquarters. And the interesting thing was that all 4 of them at one time were women. And you know, so basically we've learned a lot. Two of my ambassadors in Italy were consecutively women, you know, and one of them went on to become the additional foreign secretary of the UN. The other one went on to become our first foreign secretary. And, you know, when we talk about them as officers, we talk about them as officers, as great officers, not as women officers or great women officers. There's no adjective there. There's no gender there. They were great officers, period, irrespective of the fact that women or men or. So so basically in the Foreign Office, we've had tremendous and amazing contribution by women in the formulation of our foreign policy. We started off with Begum Rana Liaquat Ali Khan. If you see one of the prized properties that we have, which the Pakistani nation owns by virtue through the Foreign Office, is one of our chancery in our building in Netherlands. That was purchased by Begum Rana Liaquat Ali Khan through her friendship with Queen Beatrix of Netherlands at that time. And then of course we have Begum Shaista Ikramullah. We don't know, many people don't know that Begum Sahiba, Begum Shaista Ikramullah, was one of the drafters of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the standard document for human rights across the world, and who was one of the biggest contributors was a Pakistani woman, Begum Shaista Ikramullah. So, I mean, we have, from Qaid Azam's sister to all these women, we have some inspirational role models who, despite the difficulties and the setbacks, have played an amazing role in developing and contributing to our foreign policy. So, I mean, let me just come back to the point that you made about what qualities in an expatriate or women expatriate should have. So, I would just say that I think the most important three, off the top of my head, would be most important three would be, first of all, of course, adaptability. You know, you have basically feet in two continents. You are based out of the United States, yet you want to maintain your culture, the essence and beauty of your own culture, as well as adopt to your new homeland. So adaptability is very important. You can't be rigid about these things. You have to stay focused on what is important for you to maintain in the United States or any other country, and yet also be part and a useful member of the community that you live in. And I see that they are amazing examples of this factor. UK, for example, in United States, UK are the mayor of London is, for example, Sajid Khan. Sajid Khan is and there are other people who maintain their own heritage as well as contribute significantly, politically, culturally, morally, historically, all these kind of things in their in the new environment. So we are proud, and I think most of the host governments, everywhere I go, every country that I've been to, with which it has had significant populations of expatriates, all the officials have been highly, been praising our expatriate community a lot. That they are peaceful, they're hard-working, they're contributing to our economy. We've never had any problems per se with the local authorities. So the adaptability has always been a great factor in our expatriate community. Second, I think would again, I think I'll be keep repeating this point, maybe in a couple of other questions as well, is probably digital literacy. This is very, very important in this day and age. Right now, we are sitting here, you are sitting in a different time zone, I'm sitting in Iran, and other people are in different countries talking to this. It's through the courtesy, this digital technology. So we need to make sure that all our expatriate community is digitally literate to take advantage of the latest technologies so that we can contribute to each other. Pakistan needs to learn from its expatriate community, and the expatriate community needs to, stay in touch with the host country, with the mother country, with us. So, it'll be a mutually beneficial relationship if we can only harness our digital technology as well. And thirdly, of course, what is important is communication. Communication is very important to get your points across in a new country where people sometimes don't understand you. To say the right thing, to be understanding, to communicate with them in such a way that there is a mutually beneficial relationship which flowers and moves forward. So I would rank these three things as the most important qualities: adaptability, digital literacy, and communication.
Thank you very much. Now, this is a really long, and it kind of ties in with all the other stuff that you have already said, but I'll go ahead and ask it again. In light of the expected boom in the number of expats around the world and the associated benefits expats bring to the table, organizations cannot afford to overlook women in their global leadership development programs. What do you think, Ambassador Hayat, needs to be done to let them achieve their full potential?
Well, I think first of all, let's just say, by virtue of their own agency and by virtue of their own personality and their own inherent skills, women have, played an important role historically, and will continue to do so. And basically, what is important is that there is an understanding in men that the women need to, and I think there is a growing understanding even in Pakistan, and I think women are making some progress, though it's slow. We need to make it happen faster. Government needs to get involved. But what is most important is education, of course. That people need to be educated. women themselves on what is possible for them, then of course, we know that there are issues with finance. That women, for example, even if they have a great idea and and even if they start a home project in business, they need finances to grow. So these issues of financial contribution or financial inclusion of women is an extremely important point. Thirdly, of course, there are many studies which are very clear about women's role in economic sphere and GDP growth rate. So in our own enlightened self-interest, countries need to ensure that women play their rightful role in all spheres, political, educational, and whatever remuneration we can they should get, even for, like, housework, for example. There should be some tax benefits for women who just are doing unpaid labor in houses, from like working in the fields, from milking the cows, but they don't make any money out of it. So these kind of things are important, that we need to make sure that financially women are independent and inclusive. The situation is inclusive, and we have the right ecosystem, the right, how should I say it, the right environment for women to prosper and progress. I mean, we are a country which, did elect Benazir Bhutto as the first woman prime minister of the world. And, Begum Fatma Jinnah, was stood in elections against Ayub Khan. There are so many examples that, if we only let women achieve their full potential, that this country can do a great deal better.
Amazing.
Where would you like
What?
to come in? Yes. I
Yeah,
thought I'll
Zeb.
ask I sometimes I wonder if I should be speaking for on behalf of women. Maybe I should let women speak on behalf of themselves.
Zeb, do you want to say something? Oh, you muted again? Okay. Do you want to unmute? Okay, we need to unmute her. Zeb, you need to unmute yourself. No, it's not working. Oh boy.
Chaliye, maybe we can get. Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Anytime you say let's go, that's the magic word. So.
Well, I think it's pretty much very, comprehensive what the ambassador has just said. I might just want to add one point, which is, we need to be very clear that this, what they call a social incongruity between women and leadership. It's not restricted to Pakistan or the less developed societies. It's very much a fact even in Western societies and the developed world. So there's a widespread stereotype about women, or their perceived incapability of holding leadership positions. I think which has to be broken. But time and again, women have come forward and proven their abilities in different in different roles that they have taken on. Women have some natural abilities in terms of their negotiation skills, their ability to
Well, these days I think there is some problem with internet connection. It slows down sometimes over here.
Yeah, that's okay.
Probably related to that.
It's all right. I think we'll just, once she reconnects, we can go back to that.
Sure.
But honestly, Rahim Bhai, every time I talk to you and, during this webinar also, it is so refreshing to see an ambassador who is, so much for the women. You talk so highly about your officers And I can see, even your staff, they have such high and such wonderful things to say about you. And we've been in communication for the past 1 month or so. And so it's really, really nice.
Well, thank you very much. Lucky to have a great team. We're lucky to have a great team here.
Yes, they just say the nicest things about you, which, of course, I know you're a wonderful human being, but as a boss, they have nothing but the nicest things to say about you. So let's go to the other question. What type of protection can you provide for their investment? Or let's see, like as an ambassador, if somebody wants to invest in Pakistan or Iran or in USA, what kind of protection do you think can be provided for the investors?
Well, I think, as you know, this government of Prime Minister Imran Khan has been laying a special emphasis on the issue of expatriates and how to see that they can be more made, things can be made more easy for them to not only invest in Pakistan, but also to make sure that these investments are safe. And one of the best ways I think we are discussing, which is under discussion, let's start from the political aspect. There is a serious discussion going on about votes for expatriate community to elect members of the parliament in Pakistan. I know that Italy has them. Italy has members of parliament from the expatriate community who represent Italy and who represent Italian descent people abroad in the Italian parliament. So there are precedents for that. So there is a serious discussion going on. The Parliament of Pakistan I think, is seized of the matter. So this I think, will be a very important step in including expatriates in the development of Pakistan. Specifically on the economic front, I think there are three major initiatives which are currently underway and which provide stability and growth opportunity for expatriate capital and also easy transition, etc. One is, of course, you probably know, the Russian Pakistan account. It has exceeded thousands of scores of thousands of accounts, and I think it has already generated about $1 billion in these accounts. And I think one of the highest rates of return in the world on dollar accounts is probably through Russian Pakistan account. You can't get a better rate of return if you have dollars lying around than if you put them in the Russian Pakistan account. So that's one thing. Then you have of course, the remittances to Pakistan initiative. These are also very safe, easy, quick ways of sending money to Pakistan for people who might need it here, your family members, for educational purposes, for buying a plot, and these kind of things. Then, of course, you have the third factor, the third tool is the Naya Pakistan certificate. If you utilize this certificate, you can contribute not only to the GDP growth of Pakistan, but also keep your investments safe, secure, and increasing. So these are some of the three things, some of the many tools which are available. Of course, not everything is there are issues. A lot of Pakistani expatriates, or even Pakistanis in general, like to invest in land when they send their money back. They would like anything better than to buy a plot in Karachi, Lahore, Faisalabad, wherever they are, Mirpur, all these kind of places. In certain areas, there have been cases, complaints that somebody bought a plot, but somebody tried to take it over. So these are the kind of things that we need to work upon. I think there is already a task force which has been developed, and I think work is in progress to ensure that any expatriate who has any complaints, they can very quickly, get in touch with the right authorities and ensure that their rights are not trampled upon by the locals, so to speak. Lastly, of course, we also have the Prime Minister's very elaborate complaints mechanism. Anybody, Pakistani inside Pakistan, and especially expatriate community, we have they have developed a system whereby you just send an online complaint, and this will be routed to the concerned authorities. Then they have to answer. This is monitored by the Prime Minister's unit, and then if there is no response in 1 week, it gets elevated. If there's not a satisfactory response, it is further elevated. So this is harnessing the technology and digital technology to ensure that the problems of and the investments of the expatriate community are kept safe. On the same lines, very happy to tell you that under the instructions of the Prime Minister, Foreign Minister's portal is also being inaugurated. So that will be specifically for the expatriate community. While the Prime Minister's portal is also available, but the Foreign Minister's portal will also try to ensure that all these complaints are, put together, and we can see what is the main focus of these complaints. There could be issues with service delivery in the embassies, with some other issues. So all these things will be taken care of under the rubric of the Foreign Minister's portal. But what I can tell you is basically the government and the Foreign Office in general are quite seized of the matter, and we feel the importance that the expatriate community plays in the economic health of Pakistan. I think it doesn't need to bear any repetition that the remittances that come to Pakistan are the lifeline of Pakistan, economically speaking. We have more than our exports. I think our remittances are much more than our total exports. So basically, our human capital is our biggest export. So we are very proud of the work that the expatriate community is doing, and we hope very much that this will continue, and the facilities that need to be provided to the expatriate community, we're working on it, and we need to improve those systems and institutions which are duty bound to help the expatriate community.
Thank you very much. Last two questions. How are you accommodating expat involvement in the socio-economic development?
Yes, of course, like I said, the expats are like there are many fields in which we can discuss this issue. There is the political element, and there is the economic element, there is the technology element, there is the business initiative, the knowledge element. I think we are very lucky that our experts are at the cutting edge of technology, cutting edge of knowledge in every country that they are in. And you have experts teaching in Harvard Business School. Yeah, I think, and there are other people who are in the top universities in diverse fields. There are there are NASA scientists who are women and who are working on gravitational waves and stuff like that. So we need to harness all that potential. We need to create the ecosystem in Pakistan which can absorb all the energy and all the knowledge that the expats have. We already are working on economic issues, legal frameworks, political participation. But one of the best things that we can do is also ensure that how to integrate the knowledge that we have in the expatriate community abroad for the development of Pakistan. But let me tell you that there is no issue which is of higher importance to the government in hand. And I must say, in all honesty, that every government in Pakistan, regardless of its affiliation, has always tried to make sure, and is still trying to make sure, that we need to make sure that our expatriates are best serviced the best way we can.
So what programs are in place or being developed for this purpose?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like I already mentioned to you, there are 3, 4, things which are already in progress. Russian Pakistan accounts, Naya Pakistan certificates, Pakistan remittance initiative, bill in the National Assembly which is being debated for members of the expatriate community to represent the expatriates in the National Assembly of Pakistan, even in the Senate of Pakistan, and then maybe if that happens, there will be positions for them in the local assemblies or provincial assemblies as well. So they'll be more integrated. The issues of the expatriates will be heard right in the parliament during debates, and many other initiatives like that. Prime Minister, and like I said, there are a number of complaint cells also. The Prime Minister and his Foreign Minister, all the ministers are very conscious of the importance of the expatriate community that we have, and we're very lucky to have this expatriate community. And we have an expatriate community which is not just labor based, like some countries. We have an expatriate community which is diverse, which is knowledge based, which is doctors, which is engineers, which is scientists. So all these kind of things, we are well aware of the importance to the host government and to the to Pakistan that this community plays a very vital role in all these regards.
I see that Zabe is back. Zabe, do you want to say something?
I can perhaps add, I mean, this, as the ambassador said, this is one government that is focusing a lot on the expatriate community. A number of initiatives have been introduced, and having served previously in one of the bigger community stations, one of the problems that keeps, that is very recurrent, that keeps coming to embassies is the property issue. And it is one of the problems, major problems that our community, which is our expatriate community is facing abroad. Illegal occupation have been very rampant in Pakistan. And, when this property mafia comes to know that this person is settled abroad, it becomes one of the reasons why they think it is easier to get hold of that property or probably occupy it by illegal means. So I think a lot of focus is being given by the government in this area. Digital records are now being introduced, and all the record is being digitized. So, it's an effort to streamline procedure, but not just this, in so many other ways, as the ambassador has also mentioned. The different portals, there's PMDU, and my colleague Sakiba is also here. She can also shed some light on this. There's a lot of oversight on how forthcoming the embassies are to resolve these problems of the community. But just to add one more thing, maybe I think in terms of the contribution of our expatriates, one of the areas where we do need support, a lot of support from our expatriate communities, narrative building, through social media, through digital engagement. I think there's a lot of contribution that they can make through research work, through contribution in journals and publications. I think what our expatriate community can do is build a positive image of Pakistan and break away from the age-old strategic narrative and speak a little bit about how regional linkages can be built and how Pakistan is coming forward as a progressive country and a forward-looking country. I think that is where we need most support from our expatriate community.
I agree 100%.
I'm very happy that my other colleague, Sakiba, could also join us. I don't know if you could unmute her and if she could switch on her camera. Sakiba is our third secretary. This is her first posting, and she volunteered to come to Iran. She is basically from Balochistan, from Quetta, and she is a Farsi speaking, or what we call Dari speaking in that part of the world, a Farsi speaking officer, and she has contributed immensely to to our working over here. So I hope Sakiba, in view of all this discussion, she can also maybe add a youthful angle because she's the youngest amongst us. To maybe she can say a few words too. I don't know if she can hear me or I can't see if she's been unmuted or not. So maybe if we can, Nadia, if you could be kind enough to ask her a few words, ask her a few questions, I'd be very happy. Or ask her to come and suggest, make her
Can you please
viewpoint heard.
I think Sakaba has to unmute herself. The request has been sent.
Mm.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Your Excellency, and thank you, Madam Zaib, and hello to you, Nazia. It was a very useful, very informative forum, and I was listening to His Excellency the Ambassador and the questions that you posed. I totally agree that yes, the new the new century basically demands that the expats should be equally involved in the decision making, and in, they should also come forward, because when they come forward they help us, and through their help we can, help to improve our services for our expats as well, and and they basically highlight the problems that we have, or the problems that we should address. As Madam Zev were discussing about the PMDU initiative, the Prime Minister's portal, this is one way for us. It helped us a lot in improving our services, and it highlighted many of the issues that the expats were facing, but we didn't know about that, you know and or to how to address or how to go out some of the cases that they helped, and they tried to build a channel for us, and through that we were able to resolve their issues. But thank you so much, and thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you so much, Nadia, for allowing me. And it was thank you. I would just say thank you. Over to you then.
Um, it's just absolutely an honor. And I keep repeating myself and saying, how delighted, how honored we are that all of you were able to make to this webinar and give us your time. And I know how busy His Excellency is. He has been like all over the world, but even then he was able to find this time for us. Thank you very much, Zaib, for, back and forth. You and I talked, and Rahim Bhai, you were just like, just once they decide, you were fine, and you gave them time to talk. And it's absolutely wonderful. On behalf of my entire membership, my executive committee, I would like to thank all of you for coming and giving us this opportunity to listen to all of you. And I do believe that all of us who are expelled out of this our homeland are ambassadors of Pakistan, and we have to show the side that people don't get to see that often in media. So we have to show everybody that what Pakistan is all about, and we are the ambassadors, and we will do our best. And our organization, the Alliance organization, is doing what little we can with the help of our members. So thank you very much. And we are looking forward to visiting Iran next year with our members. And thank you again. Anything else you want to say to our organization? If you have a message for our members, please feel free to. I think it will be something that will be appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. It was an honor to be here. I must compliment you and your team and your organization for organizing such a wonderful, amazing webinar in which we learned a lot from the questions that you posed, with your comments, with your ideas, suggestions. So thank you for helping us to also try to see what is the best possible way that we can contribute to helping the expatriate community, you know, do further for our growth and everything. I have heard a lot about your organization. Zabe has been telling me, my colleagues in the embassy in Washington have also told me that you are doing such wonderful work, and I'm so proud of you. Nazia, from from Lahore down to, and you're continuing to do such great work and everything, and all the members of your organization. So my best wishes to you, and I'm so happy to learn that you might be coming to Iran. Iran is a beautiful country, beautiful. And whenever you do come to Iran, of course, I'll be very happy to host you guys over here. Whatever I can do, we will be delighted to meet up, and we can, sit down for conversation, for dinner, so many things that we can make a program about. But remember one thing, Tehran is not only Iran, it has such beautiful history. So when you guys come here, you must think of going to Isfahan, which is called Nisf Jahan. And then there is Shiraz. There's a beautiful city called Shiraz. Then there are, for those who are so inclined, can also go to Mashhad, which is the second biggest city in Iran. Then there is Tabriz. There are so many places that you need to go to. So whenever you come, please do spare some time out. Don't come in a rush. You will not be able to enjoy Iran in a rush. Come for at least a few days so that you can also travel to Tehran, in Tehran, and also go to Shiraz and Tabriz, etc. And of course, don't forget the cuisine is different in every part of the country, so you'll try different things in different places. So it'll be a pleasure to have you guys over here, and we'll have a seminar in person next time that you come.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Zaid. Thank you very much, Sakaba, for joining. I know it's pretty late out there, but we would be watching this webinar and with our members, and thank you for its extremely informative talk.
Thank you very much. Kind of you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Bye bye. Khuda Hafiz, Nazia. Khuda Hafiz, Suraya. Khuda Hafiz.